We continue this discussion with Stephen Billy, Executive Director at the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I wanted to get your thoughts first on Justice Breyer's retirement and how that's going to impact the court this year and beyond.
So I think in the short term, there's probably not going to be much that changes, especially in regards to the Mississippi late-term abortion case. He's not retiring until the end of the term, but I think it is going to bring up the issue of abortion more broadly. And as we go into the midterm elections and as we look to see, is President Biden going to nominate somebody to the court who is going to put ideology ahead of what the Constitution says, or is he going to put up a nominee that's willing to follow the science and accept the fact that fetal pain does exist, or accept the medical advances that have been made since 1973? So I think that's really going to be where the impact comes longer term for the midterm elections, and then also for who he puts on the court in the next term.
Interesting. We'll be keeping our eye on that for sure. We heard a lot from Professor Alvarez about how there's really no causal link between access to abortion and women's success and happiness. Can you speak to the scientific aspect of that question? What does abortion affect when it comes to women, their well-being, and their ability to really interact in society?
Yeah, well, the work that Professor Alvarez has been doing has been a great complement to Charlotte Lozier Institute studies. We've been looking at 8 million pregnancies and 5 million women in Medicaid data, and what that data has shown us is that only about 1% of women have actually used abortion to separate their children or have a child spacing to determine when they're having children. And what we've also seen is that if you have an initial abortion, you're more likely to get pregnant and then have a subsequent abortion. So it's not advancing women further. The data is actually showing that women aren't using abortion to determine when they're having children, and that it's actually putting them in a cycle of more and more abortions.
How unfortunate. And you alluded to this just a bit ago, but could you tell us how advances in science and technology have changed since Roe versus Wade went into effect?
Absolutely. There's been incredible scientific and medical advancements in 1973. I think the easiest way to see it, since we're kind of a visual learning people, is to look at the image of an ultrasound from 1973, when it was a black background with some white specks on it. Today, you can see everything about the child in the womb. You can see them sucking their thumb. You can see them responding to pain if they're getting anesthesia during fetal surgery. And what we know today about the unborn child is just incredibly advanced compared to what it was in 1973.
So important. And finally, I just wanted to get your reaction to a statement on the Dobbs case that I found on a pro-abortion website. It says, "It's not a coincidence that Mississippi is the poorest and blackest state in the union. Abortion bans are intended to keep poor people in poverty and keep white people in charge of everything." Your thoughts on this?
I think it's such an incredibly sad outlook on life and misses the entire dignity of the human life. You know, when you look at the compassion of the people in Mississippi, they've elected legislators and governors and state leaders that want to serve women, that want to make sure that women have the support they need so that they can carry out their pregnancies. And I think that quote also shows that the legacy of Margaret Sanger is still alive and well in the abortion industry. You know, the inverse of that statement is that they want the ability to end more black babies' lives, and they want to end the lives of people, of unborn children, simply because they would be born into poverty. And that's the human weed in the eyes of Margaret Sanger, and it's a legacy that they just simply can't escape.
Stephen Billy, so insightful, of the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be here.